like a worm in the storm. A hungry hunger inside of me. I can't be reborn. I'm a monster, spreading hate, stealing time. I'm a monster, laying beds when it's cloudy. Oh, pilgrim inside of me. Tell me, what's my remedy? I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Like an onion, I'll liberate your tears. Your sweet passion, sweet fears. Oh, you're in good hands. They say I'm gentle, so don't be scared. Oh, I'm a monster. Every turn has its thrill. My game, my will. Oh, pilgrim, don't let me, okay? No, I wanna be given the blame. Oh, hold up, wait a minute, what you're talking about? Hold up, wait a minute, what you're talking about? Wanna be given the blame. I'm a fraud. 'Cause I'm a true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me. That's so sick. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psycho. Ooh, I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Yes, I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psychopath.
Hello, how is everybody tonight? Let's say hi to everybody. Let's see who all we got in here. Let's see. Hey, Kay Brace, Carol freaking Claus, Cutie Pie, B Crumbs, Pointer Lover, True Crime Crazy, Ava, did I say B Crumbs? I feel like I did. Ran. I said Jane Doe. Hello, Christy. I'm so glad you guys like my intro. Hey, Ceci. So good to see you. So good to see everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Leanne, how you doing? Corey, Tess, hello. Hey, Sam. Hey, Crime Curious. Hey, Emily. I hope I didn't miss anybody. My chat is being really funky, but I'm glad that everybody is here. Welcome in. Hey, Christy. Hello, hello. It is Thursday. We've almost made it through this week. We have, so tomorrow is the 21st. All right. And I went right before I went live. I went over to the Orange County clerk, and that is who keeps track of Boone's trial. and they are still scheduled for a hearing tomorrow. Okay. And the trial is still scheduled for July 24th. Now, there was correspondence. I don't know what the correspondence is. Okay. Because it just says correspondence and it just is a notice of correspondence. It doesn't actually um like it's not if it were one of Boone's letters, right? If it is one of Boone's letters, they haven't uploaded the letter to the site. And that might be it might not even be a letter, but my thinking is it's getting really close to trial time and perhaps um they don't want one of her letters circulating right before trial. Know what I mean? Or right before jury selection, I should say. So I went and looked. The other thing that was filed was a notice of inavailability, and that is on the part of Kichitori, who is the prosecutor in this case, and that is for the September. So he's not available for September. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen tomorrow, but I will keep you guys posted. So up until now, up until then, or yeah, up until I know something tomorrow, I'm just going to prepare like Boone, her trial will, well, it's part of the trial. The jury selection starts Monday. And then I would think for her, um, I'm going to be generous and say that I think we are likely to have opening statements Tuesday morning if the trial goes ahead as scheduled. I also, before I forget, I want to tell you guys that I can't look at the contents of this filing, but it has to do with a forensic psychologist. Those are, and they were sealed and they were requested to be sealed. So unfortunately, I don't have x-ray vision like Superman. I don't even think Wonder Woman has x-ray vision. No, she just has. I don't think Supergirl does either. But anyway, I don't have it. It doesn't really matter if they do because I don't. And so I don't know what all that is. I don't know if that is she's been evaluated and these are the findings. I am not sure. So thank you, Cutie Pie, for gifting a membership. I appreciate that. The chat, you guys, has been super glitchy on YouTube. I don't know what they're doing. They're working on something. So when I was in Allie's, I had to like come in and come out a few times or just close the chat. Plus, I don't know that there's a whole lot of commentary to add to the randomness of the opening statements of yours truly. So I don't know what else people can say. All right. Now, tonight, well, before we get started, let's hear a word from our sponsor, shall we? Let's lighten the mood a little. It got a little heavy for a second because I'm frustrated with not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. And y'all know I don't have patience, and y'all know I don't like to wait because I feel like I've already been waiting enough time for Boone. I've been waiting for her since November of last year. I'm annoyed. Oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you for the super sticker, babe. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Let's lighten it up a little in here.
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah.
All right, y'all. So don't be shy. Smash, smash, smash that like button for your girl. I appreciate it. All right. Okay. So the case that we're going to talk about tonight is Ashley Benefield's case. Okay. And due to Florida's open records situation, records that are records like filings, arrest affidavits, that kind of thing, not photographs. They're fairly good about putting stuff up on the site. Although I have to tell you, it took me a bit to get to her records. I had to be a little what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. I had to hustle a little. Like I had to get creative, because if you go straight to where they should be and you just put her name in, you won't find them. But I found them. Ingenuitive. That's what I was. I was ingenuitive. Okay. Yeah, Ren, it's a that I'm not sure how I feel about the Netflix documentary, to be quite honest. I feel like um I thought that they were going to do it one way, and then they turned out to do it a different way. So if you're going to watch that Netflix documentary and think that you're going to learn about the crime that Kai committed that got him sent to prison, that you're not. It's really a lot about how Kai came onto the scene, and the media frenzy, and how he was in the aftermath. Very little time is spent talking about the actual crime. So, yeah. Hey, Team Psych Ward, good to see you, babe. So, anyways, but it's still a good documentary. I just don't. Hey, Sky Flash, long time no see. I haven't seen you in a minute, but I just don't want you guys to go in there with like a certain expectation, because I did, and it's not what it was. All right. So now the case that we're going to talk about tonight is Ashley Benefield. All right. She is 31 and she committed this crime that she is charged with back September 27th of 2020. Okay. And basically, what happened was she married a man who was significantly older than she. All right. And the first sort of thing that they did as a married couple was to open up this ballet studio. Okay. And they only ever did one show. The company only ever did one show, but she is a former ballerina and a former model. And there is a significant age gap between the two of them. I'm going to tell you that he was like 56 and she was 21 or 22. And they had opened up this ballet studio and then this company in South Carolina. And then they moved here to Florida, and he's retired from the Navy. So, yeah. Now, hey, 22 tantrums. All right. So they get married, and she ends up getting pregnant. Okay. And he had his vasectomy reversed for her. And this the problems between this couple, from what I'm gathering from the research that I have done, pretty much started from the beginning. She was suspicious of him. She said that she always would get sick after he would make her tea. And so she basically thought that he was poisoning her. They ended up splitting up. There was an incredibly contentious divorce. There was accusations of spousal abuse, of child abuse. It ended up where they finally got divorced, right? Barely. And they were starting to hash out this custody situation with their daughter, okay, who was very young at the time. I want to say that their daughter was like 2 years old when this happened, okay? And he had come over to the house, and apparently there was a fight, and she shot him, okay? Now, they just had a hearing last week. Was it? Yeah, last week. And basically, it is a stand your ground hearing. So we're going to go through that because I think it's important, and I want you guys to hear. I think it's educational to understand, like, if you are in a stand your ground state, what the law actually is. And a lot of people are speculating that part of the reason why she was charged is because the shots came from behind. But to be fair, her argument is that he was always armed, and that he had fired guns at her one time, unintentionally. It was an unintentional firing of a gun, and it hit the ceiling. He fired it up at the ceiling. And so what basically her defense is look, I was scared. It is, I asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. He got violent. He got aggressive. I was in fear for my life and my safety and the safety of my child. And I stood my ground. And so they had this hearing, and they're not even going to rule on the, all the motions and stuff that just took place in the witness testimony, et cetera, until September, which I was really bummed about because, okay, well, let me just say this. I'm bummed because, I don't like to wait. I like to know things as soon as possible. All right. But I think that there's an incredible amount of evidence presented really on both sides. I mean, to be fair, for the state, right? They indicted her. She was indicted on this. Now it's second-degree murder is what she is charged with, and just like boom. And in the state of Florida, depending on the circumstances of the crime, you can get life. Okay, so it's up in the air as to what all is going to happen, because the state's argument is essentially she knew she was going to lose this custody case. And what she wanted to do was she wanted his child support, but she didn't want to have anything to do with him. And she wanted him out of her life, period. And he was like, no, I want to be part of my daughter's life, the end. Right. And when the custody dispute seemed to not be going in her favor, she concocted this story. And because he had, during their divorce proceedings, admitted to some things. He did admit that he punched holes in the wall. He did admit that that he did accidentally fire a gun. And the only way you can accidentally fire a firearm is if you have a firearm in your hand, right? And so, that's the argument. But the state is like, no, that's not what it is. But obviously the defense is like, no, she was scared, blah, 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 right? This should, I'll throw the whole thing away. This should be completely dismissed. She is, she was, it was self-defense. She was defending herself, right? And I wanted to talk about this and compare it because this sort of defense is very similar to other types of defenses like battered spouse. So where for Boom, her defense is going to be that she is a battered spouse, so it's not what is it called? You're not saying that you didn't commit the crime, period. What you're saying is what you did was not a crime because you did unalive this person, right? But what you did was not a crime because of these circumstances. So it's why can I not think of words today? It is an acknowledgement that you did commit this act, but it's not a crime. And I can't think of the word. There's a specific word for it that is just like my brain is not letting me have that word in it right now. It'll come to me, I promise. And then I'll remember it and I'll be like, hey guys, remember when I couldn't remember that word? Here's the word. So I'm going to get us over here to the YouTubes. And but before I get us over to the YouTubes, not Alford plea. An Alford plea is different. An Alford plea is where you are maintaining your innocence. But what you're saying is the state, if they were to go to trial, they have enough evidence to get me, to get a conviction. I was reading the chat, not an Alford plea. It's, what is it? I can't think of the word. I wish Crime Curious would, I know she knows the word I'm thinking of, but I just can't think of it. But before we get over to when there's an Alford plea, Pointer Lover, it's usually, there's no trial because it's exactly like it sounds. It's a plea and it comes with a deal. So like with Peterson, from South Carolina, right? He ended up getting an Alford plea. And I think they worked it out for time served. The West Memphis Three, same thing. They got time served and they were released. So that's how an Alford plea works. There's like it's an actual like deal. Okay, so I want to read to you guys if I can freaking pull it up. Um, the arrest affidavit because that's going to tell us a lot. And the other thing is, the other reason I want to read this is because it's going to go over the details of what what the state proposes occurred on that day. And I think it's going to be way more informative because the way that the hearing sort of started out, um not nolo contendere, no, because that's no contest. No, it's like pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. It's an acknowledgement that you did commit this act. I just cannot think of what the word is that I'm looking for. It's just one word. Um, but anyway, I want us to go over the arrest the probable cause affidavit. Give me just 1 second, you guys. My husband just walked in the door. Hang on. Okay. All right. No, not no contest. It's a I'll think if I keep thinking about it, I'm never going to remember it. All right, let me see cuz this is the arrest affidavit. All right. What happened here? Hmm, hang on. I don't know why I did this. Hmm. Wow, what's the deal? Um Hang on. I don't know why it did this. I also all of her stuff pertaining to her their divorce is online, but you can't like view it. I don't know why this is doing this. This thing is giving me a hard time. Hmm. Hold on. Hmm. Sorry, you guys. Give me just a second. Here we go. Let's see. All right, here we go. She got a no contact. That's not what I clicked on. Bruh. What the frack? Let me see if this will tell me. No, this is just the warrant. Her probable cause is weird, y'all. Hold on a second. This is weird. There's nothing really listed. All right. Well, I'll figure this out later. I'm not going to make you guys sit here and wait. Let me just get over here to the law and crime and let you guys see this. It's annoying to me. All right, here we go. Sorry about that, you guys. Mo, yes, I'm going to keep it up for the whole 2 hours and make you guys just hold on a minute. I always love it when my YouTube reminds me that I've already watched something and how far into it I am, and it just starts playing abruptly, and it's like all of a sudden you're not you're just used to hearing your own voice. Yes, I believe that she was classically trained as a ballerina, and apparently quite successful. But I'm not exactly sure what they don't really get into all of that as to like her background, and that's what I was kind of hoping I could find. But I'm going to keep at it, you guys. Don't worry, I will figure out how to get all this information. Don't y'all worry. All right, I am going to add this to the stream, and here we go. Now it starts really abruptly because there was some type of technical difficulty, so here we go.
The force used was reasonable. So to that end, as the court is aware, we established a prima facie case that the force used was justified. The state stipulated to that, and Your Honor saw. At that point, the burden shifts to the state to establish that the force used was not justified. That's what the statute says, and that's what the case law holds. The standard that state has to meet to do that is clear and convincing evidence. So that leads us to what I think is a very appropriate consideration, Judge White, which is what are the parameters of a motion such as a stand your ground motion? I would suggest to the court that was pretty well defined in the second DCA case of Bowie versus State. I'll give the court the site at 292 Southern 3rd, 471, and specifically page 483, second DCA case 2020. The court there pretty much stated that the inquiry for the court is to.
And before I forget, she is out on bond. She has an ankle monitor, and she ended up getting established as indigent. And so the $103 a month for the ankle monitoring was waived for her.
Entertain
Let's
any
just
evidence
get to
which establishes that the force
Let's skip
that
from
was
him and
used
get to the very first witness.
to intimidate your wife.
Objection, relevance.
Hold on.
Went back in the house and got. So there's an old
Around this.
on him going.
Understood, Your Honor, and I might say I'm quite comfortable with the court proceeding that way. I have no doubt.
Thank you. But let me say this. Having sat on both tables, you make every single objection as we go that you feel you need to make. But I understand completely you have.
Let me just give you a spoiler alert. This might have been a little too far because this guy did make every single objection in the world. I don't think I've ever seen anybody object as much as this guy. But listen, he's doing his job.
Have just a general objection to all of that character evidence, the background. You want to focus on that particular day.
Yes.
Got it. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Benefield.
We'll stand right here, sir. Face the clerk. Raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Ms. Whitman.
Stay about 12 inches from the microphone, please.
Hello, sir.
Morning, Judge.
My name is Judge White. I'm presiding over this hearing. As the deputy said, just make yourself comfortable in that chair. Get about 12 to 15 inches from the microphone. It adjusts up, down, left, right, wherever you're comfortable. If you're just speaking a loud, clear voice, it'll pick everything up.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me just ask, can you see?
I can, Your Honor, it's being blocked a little bit, but I'll get it.
If you need to readjust yourself or reposition, please feel free to do so.
Thank
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Please state your name.
Tommy Douglas Benefield, Jr.,
How do you spell your names?
TOMM.
This is the victim's brother.
IEDOUGLAS BENEFIELD JR for Junior.
And what was your relationship to the deceased Doug Benefield?
First cousins.
And how close were you?
We were close our entire lives, and I was instrumental in him going into the Navy when I was in the Navy. Both naval officers, both flying off aircraft carriers, both did other work for the government, and then all the way through his business career and his dual career in the government and in private. Probably talked weekly to monthly, depending upon the times of our lives.
Okay.
I visited his family multiple times in Charleston.
And let me just ask
yes,
you,
ma'am.
before he died, where did he live?
Well, he was in an apartment down here at the very end.
But before he moved to Florida, where did he live?
Charleston, South Carolina, 701 Preservation Place.
And where do you live now?
I split time between Jacksonville, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia. My wife and I have a spa business in Atlanta, Georgia, and I work 2 weeks a month in Honolulu, Hawaii.
And what is your job?
I'm a flight instructor for Hawaiian Airlines, teaching pilots in a particular airplane.
So let me ask you a little bit about Doug. At the time that he was murdered, how old was he?
He was just 1 week short of 59. He's born October 5th, 1961.
And how tall was Doug?
5'9", 5'10".
About how much did he weigh?
I'd say 160 to 170.
And you already said before he moved to Florida, he lived near Charleston, South Carolina?
In Mount Pleasant, a suburb on the north side of the river.
Okay. And just before he moved down here to Florida, who did he live with in the house?
Just Eva and himself, except for the time that Ashley was living there previously.
So you said Eva. Who's Eva?
Eva is his biological daughter, first daughter, with his longtime wife, Renee.
And how old was Eva at around this time?
15, I believe.
So a teenager.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first meet Ashley?
I had an overnight. I was flying for Southwest Airlines, had a change in a schedule. They sent me to Charleston, just me, not the rest of the crew, to take a plane into Charleston. And I texted Doug and said, hey, I'm going to be in Charleston tonight. Let's go to dinner. He texted back, great. April 14th, 2017 was the date.
You seem to remember dates well.
I have a very good memory, ma'am.
Okay. So you remember the exact date was April 14th?
Yes, ma'am. And I keep a diary and a flight log, so I know exactly when it was.
So did you in fact meet up with Doug?
Yes, when I got into Charleston, ahead of the hotel, I texted Doug again, and he said, Ashley's not feeling well. Could you take Uber up to Mount Pleasant to the house?
Overruled.
Did you know who Ashley was?
I had never heard of Ashley at that time.
Okay. So he spoke it like you knew who she was?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take an Uber to their house?
Yes, ma'am.
Once you got to the house, did you meet Doug
I met Doug and Ashley together.
and Ashley? Was that the first time you'd ever met the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you speak with both of them together about their relationship and how they met? I'm assuming you were basically like, who are you?
We spent 4 hours together.
Okay.
We started at the house. I got her short life story, their life story together at that time.
So their life story together at that time, did they say how long they had known each other before they got married?
Yes, ma'am. It was almost a sense of pride for both of them that they had only known each other 13 days.
And how old was Ashley at the time?
At that time, Doug was 54 and she was 24, I believe.
So a 30-year difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Between them. And I think you already answered this earlier, but did Eva live in the house with the two of them?
Yes, she did.
Did the defendant ever mention that she had a job?
No, ma'am. It was only past history stuff and what she was doing temporarily in the 2016 timeframe.
Was she interested in the ballet?
Yes, ma'am. She was a former ballet dancer. And by this time, they talked about the American National Ballet they had founded in February.
So let me stop you
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
So was Doug interested in the ballet?
The way a husband is, proud of his wife, supportive, knew nothing about the ballet except its existence, I think, prior to that.
And prior to this meeting with Ashley and all this, had he ever expressed any interest in the ballet?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you mentioned February. So they started a ballet in February?
So there's an old ballet that was defunct called the American National Ballet. When Ashley wanted to start a ballet and make this a special ballet, a diverse, non-judgmental, non-stereotyping ballet, Doug found a name and found an old ballet, and that's, I believe, February 27th of 2017 is when they founded it on paper.
So a couple of months
I'm
before
sorry,
you met.
Suzanne. Continuing relevancy objection. I don't want to keep interrupting.
Understood. Understood.
So you mentioned that was February of 17. So that was roughly 2 months.
Yes, ma'am.
before you met Ashley. And how was the ballet being paid for? Did they discuss that with you?
Doug did. They both did.
Okay.
Uh,
Ashley did as well.
She talked about it.
Yes.
She understood what Doug was having to do to raise money and to put money personally into it. Doug was very, very good in all his businesses about doing the founding paperwork and establishing an LLC. And he had done the same with the ballet. He had built a website, just typical of Doug to build it all himself from scratch.
And you said he put his money into it.
I know he put his money all the way till he ran out.
And then did he also have other money?
There were investors, including his business partners and other donors through the process. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it was actually formed in February of 17, but was there a formal launch of the
So
ballet?
the night I spent with them, they talked about the upcoming events. There was an informal launch in May. There was a formal big donor party that I was a part of, brought all my business partners, a lot of veterans that I work with to a McKee House event in August.
Okay, we're going to skip a little forward because it doesn't really get sort of confrontational, and you get to hear the other side when he gets cross-examined. But this gentleman, which is Doug's cousin, is a pilot. And so he has an incredible memory for dates. And part of the reason that he has this incredible memory for dates is because a lot of the times when he would see Doug and Ashley, it would be like on a layover, you know, or not, you know, I guess layover is close enough, but you know what I'm saying, when he would be, you know, in town because of a flight. And the reason he remembers the date is because pilots keep logs. But we're going to skip ahead a little bit because I really want us to get to the cross-examination, which is rather interesting. And I also want us to hear from the defense now, or from Ashley herself. Now, see, here's the thing. If the judge decides that this is not a stand your ground case, the only way for a defendant to explain their case as to why they did what they did is for them to take the stand. And there's quite a bit of, you know, it's always a risky move for a defendant to take the stand because everything seems to go swimmingly during, you know, direct, right? But as we watched with Alex Murdaugh, Amber Heard, it doesn't, it all goes sideways on the cross. And some people, Johnny Depp, are much better at handling themselves on cross-examination than the Alex Murdaugh, Amber Heard's, George Wagner the Fourth, you know, those types. It's not easy to subject your Ezra McCandless. It's not easy to be on the stand during cross-examination, particularly when you are the defendant. So, all right, here we go. Because then there's
don't disagree with the hearsay declarants.
a bunch of
Credibility can always be
arguing.
attacked or supported pursuant. Are we going to do the plan that we originally laid out, which is, hey, put your stuff.
Wanted to express
Wait,
his
hold on. I think I went too far.
With. I am quite comfortable there's no jury and appropriate that issue.
Discussion now. Which attack it kicks butt back.
I was at the end of my redirect.
There was about Sully. And did you hear about it from?
Oh, I think I scrolled too fast.
I would.
What other statement of?
Come on. I don't know what my deal
Did
is
he put a
today, you
tracker
guys.
on the defendant's car? Were you aware of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The defense also asked if you.
The Doug
Statement of the non. From the documents.
Here we go.
Court would take a.
Now we're getting there. I am so sorry, you guys. This
Regarding-
is probably one of my roughest lives I've had in a while.
Regarding hearsay. If the court would take a look at 90-806
Oh my
of the
gosh.
Florida Evidence Code regarding hearsay.
I'm done.
It
We're just going
states
to
that
hear
once
his argument about
has been
hearsay.
Admitted and allowed by the court, the opposing party is entitled to move into evidence any testimony of the witness referred to, the non-testifying party that exists. So in other words, during the state's examination of Mr. Benefield, wherein hearsay statements were allowed, the defense is entitled under 806 to move into evidence the entire statements of any prior statements made by Mr. Benefield, the deceased. if the court would take a look at that rule, I'll address it later on.
Okay, so the doctrine of completeness? The doctrine of completeness?
Yeah.
For that particular, each particular statement?
It's actually separate from the doctrine of completeness, but pretty much the same thing. It basically says when hearsay is allowed, the hearsay statement in any capacity or any statement of the non-testifying witness may be admitted into evidence by the adverse side.
I guess it'll just depend on what the statement is and when it was made and the relevance, and sure.
Yes, I'll address it with the court at a later.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, redirect.
Just for the record, Judge, I completely disagree that that's what 9806 says. And in my direct examination of Mr. Benefield, I was very specific to only get Ashley's comments, not Doug Benefield's comments with reference to hearsay. So just that would be my response to that. So the defense asked you about this punching a dog issue.
Yes, sir.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
and you said that's not the story I got. What was the story you got?
The story I got was that Doug was sitting on one of his chairs with an ottoman. He always wore short shorts, bare-legged sandals, just like the night he was killed. And the dog jumped up in his lap because the dog was I picked up the dog after his killing, so I'm very familiar with Sully. Big dog, big nails, jumped up in his lap, and he was frustrated, and it hurt.
So the allegation is that Sully, their dog, jumped up into his lap and he punched the dog so hard that he knocked the dog unconscious. So, yes, that's
Aggressively pushed is one way, is what he told me.
and Ashley, it's Ashley that says that he punched him so hard that he knocked the dog out. This gentleman is saying he said that he pushed the dog. He didn't say anything about punching him.
Okay.
He admitted that was more than he wanted to do to the dog, but it was due to his frustration at the time. He pushed the dog off of his lap because it was cutting into his legs.
So at no time did he say he punched a dog?
No, ma'am.
At no time did he say that the dog went unconscious?
No, ma'am.
And the defense asked you if you were aware if Doug told you that he put a tracker on the defendant's car. Were you aware of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The defense also asked if you knew about Doug punching a hole in the wall.
I knew about one punch.
And what was the reason for that punch?
Frustration.
The defense asked you if Doug regularly carried a firearm. Did Ashley regularly carry a firearm?
Even the first night she met him in front of Secret Service in the area. Yes, ma'am.
So did she have a concealed weapons permit?
I understand she does.
And did Doug have a concealed weapons?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions.
Hold on, I don't know what they're going to
All
do.
right. Did you have any further questions before we let this witness go?
Yes, one. Mr. Benefield, where did you obtain the explanation about what happened to Sully by your cousin?
Both from Ashley and Doug.
Your Honor, now, again, I would direct the court's attention to 806.
Okay, so they're going to get into it about 806 and hearsay and yada, 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 whatever. And I want us to hear Ashley's own words. So let me get over to this window. All right, here we go. This is the one. Now, wait a minute. This is not the one I wanted. Hold on. I think it's this one. Yeah, hang on. Just give me a second and I'm going to share this. Vinny does a good job of breaking this down too. So we're going to listen to Vinny Politan. And plus, this one will give you an idea of what she looks like. Oh, whoops. All right. Here we go. All right.
Battle over their young daughter, a battle that included.
All right, before we get started, I just want to give everybody a trigger warning because they're going to show some pictures that were taken the night that this happened, and it's pictures depicting domestic violence allegedly, right? So it's a trigger warning, all right, because it's going to come up fairly quickly here. All right, here we go.
28-year-old former ballerina Ashley Benefield ran to her neighbor's house on the evening of September 27th, 2020. She said she had been attacked. She also said she shot her attacker, a man named Doug, her 58-year-old husband. Ashley and Doug were in the middle of a nasty custody battle over their young daughter, a battle that included serious allegations by Ashley, including being poisoned by her husband. But the judge in the case did not believe Ashley and her allegations, and there was a big upcoming court date in their case in front of the same judge. That hearing never happened because Ashley killed Doug. Ashley is now charged with murder and claims self-defense, although she has never given a statement with her version of what happened that night. She did, however, testify in the custody case, and tonight we'll take a listen to her testimony and have our voice analysis experts take a listen to see if there are any indications of whether or not she is telling the truth. Plus, the victim's cousin and family spokesman joins us live for our in-depth coverage of the Black Swan murder trial. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so I got to pause here for a little commentary because that's the thing, Cray Cray. I'm going to let you go. When you hear, I don't want to tell you guys too much because I feel like if I talk too much and I give too much detail, then like I'm tainting your idea of, because it's based on what I already know, right? And I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to say, I'm just going to let you guys listen to the audio from the divorce hearing, and then you guys, you tell me what you think, because this one is an interesting one. And I have to say, just for me personally, after listening to both days of the hearing and this recording, it's not so cut and dry for me. Usually by this point, when I've been looking into a case, I kind of have like an idea of how I'm feeling, but it's not, I don't know what's wrong with me. I really don't. Like, I feel like I'm having a hard time. Usually I've already formed an opinion, but something about these last couple of cases that have come up, I've been like, yeah, I don't know yet. All right, so here we go.
Tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard. Big hour coming up. You know, I was a prosecutor. I've told you that tons and tons of times on the show. That's how I see the world. That's the filter, all of that, right? Very upfront about it. But when I was a prosecutor, a lot of people would ask me, you know, was it scary? Did you feel like it was dangerous, you know, being in the courtroom with criminals and trying to send them to prison? And I would always say, no, when you're in a courthouse, the criminal court is not the most dangerous place in that building. The most dangerous place is the family courtroom. Family law is brutal. And it's brutal because it's not about, a couple of dollars here and there, or, am I going to plead guilty to drug possession?
You're right, Vinny.
No.
Family court is
It's
brutal. We're gonna
extremely
skip through.
personal at one point for
Sorry,
the
Vinny.
cases.
I want us to hear this.
It's a right.
Yeah.
That's about a matter of days. The Owen is all over this. Whichever side you want to believe, or whichever side the jury ends up believing. But they were in court already in this custody battle, and someone had to determine.
Disappear. He's angry. He had insinuated.
There's probably a little rough language in this too, so just so y'all know.
May very well be.
Things that had started was a lot of kind of verbal scare tactics, I suppose. I had known he was in the military, but he had told me about how he was an angry person and how he had been raped.
I don't know, Cray. I don't think that you're gullible, but my thing is, I don't really know just quite how I feel about this case yet, and I'm just going to let y'all listen, and then I'm curious to hear what you think, and maybe I'll have a better idea hearing it a second time around. All right, here we go. I'm going to be quiet now for real.
As a teenager, and that he went into the military because he was angry and it was a good avenue for his anger. He said that he is a good killer because he's angry. He had insinuated that outside of the military that he had connections and that he could kill people, that he could make people disappear, that he had murdered people, poisoned people, that he had gotten away with both, and that he could do it again, and that nobody would ever find out, and nobody could ever prove what he did. He came home from work early, and I was in the bedroom, and he came in, and he immediately became very angry and started accusing me of not loving him, and said that if I had loved him, that I would have responded with a kissing emoji or a heart back. At one point, he had turned to walk away from me, and he was standing in the opening of the closet, and I was standing right on the outside of the closet, and he turned around and he punched a hole through the wall with his fist. He pulled the gun out. I believe it was in his boot, and he pulled it out and he started waving it around. It was unholstered at the time. He then threw the gun facing me. It missed me. It hit the wall behind me and it punched a large hole. He started screaming and he told me that, this is a quote, that he was going to blow his brains out. And so I stopped and I dropped to the floor and I started crying and I begged him to not shoot the gun. And he said that I was going to have to watch him shoot his brains out. And I was screaming and asking him not to. I told him I wouldn't leave. I was literally on my hands and knees. And he, I guess at some point, discharged the gun. I didn't see him aim it at the ceiling, but the bullet went into the ceiling. I had been trying to figure out for a while how to get out.
Get out of what?
Out of danger.
Did you feel in danger?
Yes, I did.
And so what did you figure out?
Well, I realized that since I was in Florida already, that it was a good opportunity to just not go back, and that I knew that my mom would let me stay.
Okay. Did you go back to South Carolina at any point in time after August 26th?
I did twice. On September 18th, I knew.
September 18th, meaning after he was down for the storm?
Correct.
You went to South Carolina and did what?
I knew that he would be busy with the media that had come for the launch of the ballet company, which was set to open on September 18th. So I knew he wouldn't be home. So I went to the house and I grabbed a bunch of my clothes and things out of my drawers that all belonged to me. When I had been brought down to Florida, I didn't have anything with me.
So you went in the home, took your physical possessions?
Correct, yeah.
Did you take anything of his?
No.
Did you leave him a note?
I did.
Okay. And what did you tell him?
I outlined some of the reasons why I was leaving and doing what I was doing. I explained very clearly how he had scared me and that I wasn't okay with the way he was treating me. I also talked about the different problems that there were in the house.
What did you tell him about the abuse? The same things we're talking about here?
Yes, I also included several incidences where like he was angry while he was driving. And he scared me. Like one time he actually like ran up on a curb, like through grass, almost hit a tree because he was yelling and screaming at me. He made like a U-turn, drove home on a road that speed limit's probably like 25. He was probably going 50, 60. Pulls into the driveway. I thought he was going to just drive straight through the garage. He slams on the brakes and was yelling and screaming at me. There have been multiple times where he got angry while he was driving. Even when he brought me down to Florida, he got angry while he was driving, and he would drive erratically. And I would cry and I would beg him to stop. I sometimes even asked him to like pull over so I could get out, and he wouldn't.
Okay. And so did you file anything in South Carolina to keep him away from you?
I did the order in November.
So in November, you went to court on the domestic violence in South Carolina?
Yes.
And when you went to court in front of the judge in South Carolina, did you ask the judge to prevent him from being around you?
I did.
And did the judge issue a restraining order?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, again, this is in family court, and stuff gets ugly in family court. So let's hear from the other side. Joining us tonight from Atlanta, Georgia, Doug Benefield's cousin, family spokesperson, Tommy Benefield, back with us. Tommy, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Vinny. We appreciate your coverage and your fairness on all this.
Okay, I want you to respond to a couple of things that we heard that she testified to there. And again, I read decision that the judge heard the decision during the hearing that the judge in this custody battle did not find her credible, but she said that your cousin joined the military because he was an angry person and a good killer, and he was raped.
Well, I helped Doug get in the Navy in the first place, and he actually entered a program where the Navy would put him through flight school, and as a payback, they would put him through medical school. And that program was why he went into the military in the first place. When the program stopped, he decided to go ahead and go in and continue flying off aircraft carriers for 3 years after that. I wouldn't say anger was ever a part of it. I certainly was closer than anyone to him through that entire period, and that was never part of the deal.
I mean, Vinny's not wrong when he says that family court is dangerous, because the things that you're allowed to say in family court are very different. For example, in a criminal trial. And this is why I'm on the fence with her, because there's something about her effect in the way that she is retelling the story. There's just something off for me. And I cannot, this is why I've had a hard time putting coming up with an absolute opinion one way or the other, because really I don't have that much information beyond the stand your ground hearing. And to be quite honest with you, the stuff that was presented at the stand your ground hearing was not compelling to me. That so compelling that I felt like she had no other choice. Do you see that it actually falls under stand your ground? But and you're right, Pointer Lover. This is the thing, you don't ever really know how people are behind closed doors. And the thing about relationships like this, romantic relationships is what I'm trying to say, is that nobody really knows what goes on between two people in a relationship. You know, when you have children, your children have a perspective of how the two of you are in a relationship, your family members do, right? But the only people who really know the dynamics of that relationship are the two people who are involved. And so it makes it very difficult when you it makes it hard to ascertain who's telling the truth here, because there's only one person who's alive to speak, right? He can't really defend himself. And so it just makes it a little bit difficult. But this this must be the second thing that they did, because there was like more. It must be past his thing. Hold on, let me see what this is.
He's screaming. What do you know?
To her regular concealed to him.
Because there was more audio, and
he started waving at
TV legendary.
I remember I had to do a lot of skipping.
Pulled the gun out. I believe it was in his boot. And he pulled it out and he started waving it around. It was unholstered at the time.
There's Ashley Benefield. Will the jury believe her when she finally testifies, if she testifies?
I'm sorry.
Jerry Crotty.
You said that Mr. Benefield is in your
Sorry about that, you guys. I just clicked the video file like an idiot, and it automatically mutes the mic, and then it has to wait for the window to the whole big thing that you guys don't need to hear about. Here we go.
I gotcha kind of moment.
Okay, let's get back to some more of that testimony. This is her on cross-examination, which is always a little bit more stressful and difficult than direct. Let's listen.
in your testimony a few minutes ago, you said that Mr. Benefield pulled the gun out of his boot. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, you believe so or you know so?
I remember him pulling it out of his boot.
All right, because in your sworn petition for dissolution, you claimed that he pulled the handgun out of his waistband and started waving it around in the air.
Maybe it was his waistband. I'm sorry.
Jerry Crotty, your thoughts as you
Well, Vinny, you didn't ask for my thoughts, but I'm going to tell you right now, when you get a witness on cross to change their story mid testimony, it is not a good thing. It's a win for cross, right? It's a win for, if this were the criminal, right, case, it would be great. Well, I guess so. In this case, she would have been the petitioner and he would have been the respondent. So it would have been, it's great for the respondent, not so good for the petitioner. It's bad news bears when you get the witness when your witness changes their story. Hold on, here it is. This is it. I must have been cleaning or something this day, and maybe I had a little too much fabulosa in the air, and like I've completely blacked out that there were all these like interviews in between the audio, because I feel like when I listened to it, it was just straight her. But I don't know. I'm telling you, the fabulosa must have went to my head. All right, here we go.
Loving him, and said that if I
Is involving an incident involving punching a hole in the wall. Let's listen.
he started accusing me of not loving him, and said that if I had loved him, that I would have responded with a kissing emoji or a heart back, and that he started accusing me of possibly having a relationship with somebody else. Said this just proved that he loved me more than I loved him. I, of course, told him that, none of that was true, but he became more and more angry, and he, at one point, he had turned to walk away from me, and he was standing in the opening of the closet, and I was standing right on the outside of the closet, and he turned around and he punched a hole through the wall with his fist, and I was standing on the other side of the wall, and the drywall literally came out and hit me in the face.
All right, Bruce Jacobs, what are you hearing?
Well, I'm going to have to agree with the other two. I didn't see any.
I don't remember what.
Susan, talking about this hole in the wall.
When the dispute happened, you're saying on April 14th, where you say Mr. Benefield trapped you in the master bedroom and prevented you from escaping. What was the dispute about that day?
I don't remember.
Was it about Eva?
I don't remember. Was that the day with the text messages? I honestly don't remember.
This is your sworn petition, so I'm asking you what happened. Isn't it true that you were in fact following Doug around the house, berating him about his failure to discipline Eva the way you thought she should be disciplined?
No.
All right. When he punched the wall, isn't it true that the wall had already been cut out because the ADT alarm system was being installed?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right, Susan, what do you think?
Well, her pitch changes. I think that you guys will probably notice that too. When she says no, she kind of goes into this kind of soft pitch. So it's still not.
Look, I'm going to just say it right now. This lady is going to be a terrible witness. Frankly, she's not doing herself any favors. These are things. Listen, when something happens to you, you guys know this. When you're telling the truth and you're telling things the way that they happened, right? You're not trying to exaggerate it, over dramatize it, blow it out of proportion. You're just stating the facts. You can recall it, and the truth doesn't change. Do you know what I mean? And so when you get on cross-examination and then you're presented, you've just given your testimony, right? And and the lawyer is cross-examining you, and she's asking you about something that you already swore to, not this day, but prior to that. That's problem. If your story is changing from your sworn affidavit to your testimony in court, do you know what I mean? This is going to be problematic for her. And if her, whatever the situation, if it's up to her to explain to a jury why she did what she did and why it's not a crime, right? Then you got to be able to tell your story. And I'm sorry, ma'am, but You don't get a good Google rating from your girl Jen Lou. I'm sorry you don't. I'm gonna have to give you like 1.5 stars. It's pretty bad. What do you guys think? It's just it there, I don't know. For me, there are things about people's story that maybe it's because I'm a mom and I was always outnumbered 4-1. Well, 3-1 for a long time and then 4-1. And kids, they lie. And that's just the truth. And especially teenagers, because they're always trying to get one past you because they're trying to do something. I mean, I was a teenager, I know. And so you have to like be paying attention all the time. And maybe that's why my BS meter, maybe that's why I was cut out for true crime. I don't know. But there's something about this woman's story that is just, there are things that she should know and shouldn't change. Do you know what I mean? All right, let's hear what she has to say.
Reports cause you concern based on your reading of them?
Yes.
And why?
Because they're not normal levels for either of us to have.
They found heavy metals in your daughter as well?
Yes.
Okay, and all those reports have now been admitted into evidence, correct?
Yes.
And do those reports cause you concern based on your reading of them?
Yes.
And why?
Because they're not normal levels for either of us to have. They're very high levels of strange metals that are not necessarily common.
Okay. And when your daughter was born, she had these heavy metals in her system?
Yes, the meconium would have been dated back to the early weeks of gestation.
Okay. And they're the same heavy metals that you have in your system, correct?
Yes.
All right. Jeff, take a listen. We've got a big chunk of her talking about what she said she was.
I would say by January, I had started having weird symptoms. The first and most noticeable was just extreme fatigue.
Okay. And did the extreme fatigue persist during the entire time from January of 2017 to the time that you stopped living with Douglas Benefield?
It sometimes was worse than others, but yes, it was pretty consistent from that time.
And the day that you fixed that you moved out from his home was when?
August 26th, 2017.
Of 2017? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And in the course of living with Douglas Benefield, would he serve you food or anything that you would ingest into your body?
He would. We both enjoyed hot tea frequently. So he had begun a habit of bringing me breakfast in bed. He would also multiple times during the day and a lot of times in the evening when we would go to bed, he would make me a mug of hot tea.
Can I just say that monster, he brought you breakfast in bed. How dare he? I don't know. I do not think that he had them in his system, K-Bird. I would imagine that when this goes to trial, I really don't think that the judge is going to rule in her favor and dismiss this case and say that it's a stand your ground case. Or I guess I'm kind of confused, and maybe I should have looked into this a little more to understand better. If I'm thinking that the way it works in Florida, because it's different everywhere. Hey, Allie, I'm thinking that, I mean, they did file for the case to be dismissed, but I'm wondering if you're allowed to use stand your ground as a defense, meaning I'm going to look into that. I'm not going to talk anymore because now I'm getting all confused myself, and I'm going to look into this a little bit more. I thought that I would be able to pull up that probable cause, and so that's what I intended to talk about more than the stand your ground. But when we do it tomorrow night, we'll finish up because there's more from the hearing that I want you guys to hear. then I'll have all those details ironed out. I apologize to you guys now, and then anybody listening on the replay.
To go to bed with as well.
Okay. Was there ever anything about the tea that he would serve you that caused you concern?
Yes, on multiple occasions, I told him that it didn't taste right. It was a lot of times very sweet to the point where I was so nauseous. I had gently tried to ask him to not make it so sweet because I like honey in my tea. And so he would put honey in my tea. And he multiple times got very upset and offended. If I didn't finish the tea that he brought me, he would get upset. One time I told him that I didn't feel well and I didn't want to drink it. And he started yelling at me and he called me an ungrateful and said that I was lucky that I had a husband who would make me hot tea. And that it proved that he loved me and that if I loved him, that I would have just been thankful.
All right, Jerry, what are you hearing? What does your analysis tell us?
Yeah, see, the thing is, this is where I'm having a disconnect, because there's something about her story. Okay, Mo, I'm on it. There's something about this story in particular. I tried to gently ask him not to make it so sweet. I don't know how you gently ask somebody anything. It's just such an odd turn of phrase for me. Maybe it's because I'm me and I'm, but there's something wrong here. There's something wrong in her tone and in the way that on certain, and it's not in every sentence, and it's not, it's not like her personality. You know how some people, when they speak, they will talk like this and end with like a question mark on every single sentence. She doesn't talk like that. That's not her cadence, but now she's making me talk like that. That's not her normal speech pattern because we've been listening to her, right? But there are certain parts, almost like when she wants to appear demure, that's what she starts to. It's very odd to me. Something about this chick just rubs me the wrong way, and it's all about her story. I do not give a rat's fat kneecap if there were 30 years or 30 days or 30 months between the two of them. Like, the age gap is not an issue for me. As long as they're both adults, that's neither here nor there to me. I'm not judging her for that, but there's something about her that just her story here, especially when she's trying to accuse him of poisoning her. So let me get this straight. He's poisoning you and the baby while you're pregnant, but yet he's fighting tooth and nail to see his child. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
17 forward, is that right?
I began displaying symptoms around that time. Yeah.
Okay, show you what has already been admitted as your Exhibit 6. These are your Low Country OBGYN numbers. You recognize these?
Yes.
Looking at page 39, do you see that?
Yeah.
She said Low Country. Y'all, wherever she was being seen was the same area as the Murdochs. I never even put that together before.
Okay, do you see the middle of that box? It says denies lower GI symptoms. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Has regular, normal formed bowel movements without pain or bleeding. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Denies urinary
Is that a
symptoms.
yes or?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I see that it says.
Boom, what Mo said. That's how I feel. She's telling a story, yet it doesn't sound like she lived through the story. It's very odd. It's very unsettling to me. And yes. All the things, y'all. All the things.
Yes.
Denies new or acute muscle or bone pain. You see that?
Yes.
Denies skin or hair changes. Is that correct?
Yes, it says that.
And these are all statements that you made to your doctor on April 26, 2017. Is that correct?
Hey, Heather, whatever.
That's what's recorded in these records, yes.
So are you saying is Low Country lying about this, or is this an accurate reflection of what you said to the doctor?
I believe it's fairly accurate. There are multiple times in the records that I have been reviewing over the past couple months where things aren't what I said they were and they were written incorrectly.
Okay, here, look at the bottom. It says, husband is here, very supportive, and agrees that she has not been depressed or anxious. You see that?
Yes, he went with me most everywhere I went.
Susan Constantine, your thoughts?
Boy, oh boy. I think that, part of what she's saying is true, but I also think that she's probably has some sort of she's like hypochondriac, I think. And when she's talking about these illnesses, she, again, to what Jerry was saying, is that she's not associating some of these symptoms to what the attorney is alleging. She's saying that she felt nauseated, right? She got the teas and so forth, and she felt nauseated. She didn't say, I was vomiting, I was...
That's an excellent point, counselor. And I think that's what it is for me. I'm always honestly, let's, anybody who is in the chat who's been pregnant, right? Most people have nausea. Okay. Some people have nausea and vomiting, but she's talking about just nauseous. And if you have all these heavy metals in your system, allegedly, I would think that you're going to vomit. She does, Carol. That's what I thought. She does look like, yeah, it sounds like pregnancy stuff. You're tired. I was exhausted with my last pregnancy. 18 years, almost 18 years ago. Oh my gosh, 18. It'll be at the end of the summer. It'll be 18 years. I can't even believe it. Little Bendy Jr. gonna be an 18-year-old. It's shocking, which has nothing to do with anything we're talking about here. So sorry about that, you guys. You know I'd be getting off task. There's just something, but I want us to go through more of the testimony because the lawyer that is asking her these questions on cross-exam, they're going to bring that attorney into the hearing. And her testimony is quite interesting. And there's also some, other testimony that I think is going to be interesting. And I want to do more into this, looking more into this stand your ground, because because I caught this when I listened to it tonight, and I guess I had missed it when it aired when the trial was streamed originally, when he said that the state stipulated to it, and that means that's an agreement. So I'm thinking that the argument is whether or not she will be allowed to use the stand your ground defense. I think that must be what it is. And because I rewatched the ending when all the testimony is over and the state and the defense make their closing arguments. And then I listened, obviously, to what the judge had to say, and he wasn't going to be making a ruling until September. And so I guess, and I watched it several times because it was a little confusing to me. So perhaps I need to watch it a third time. And then I need to be doing more research into this stand your ground situation. Hey, headphones. And understanding it better. Because, yes, I agree with that, K-Bird. I would like to see her actual lab results and then see what the acceptable levels are. Because, and you're right, elevated is relative. It can depend on a great many things. And just to say, well, my levels were elevated, like it's like if I were to go right now and have my blood drawn. I just drank some sweet tea. obviously there's sugar in it. If I were to have my blood drawn right now, my sugar, if I were to go prick my finger, like on a glucose meter, my sugars would be high right now because I'm full of sugar. I just, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be an accurate representation of what my sugars are. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm curious if what she was taking as far as vitamins, because sometimes, you know, like after I had my first son, I was very, very anemic, and my second son as well. And I had to continue to take the iron pills. And so whenever I would get my blood drawn, they would always know, are you not taking your iron pills? Or, oh, I see you are taking your iron pills. You know what I mean? Like I would either get in trouble or I would be congratulated, one or the other. Because iron pills they upset my tummy. Oh, how exciting. Hey, Adrian, that's so exciting. Are you having fun riding a motorcycle? That sounds so fun. That sounds so fun. I am scared to get on a motorcycle because you guys know, like what was it? Spring or summer, maybe, or fall. Remember when I decided I'm going to go for a ride on the bike and I fell and I scraped up my whole side of my shin, my calf. It's terrible. I can listen. I used to be actually good at bike riding, but I am extremely clumsy. I can trip over air. So it is what it is. That is so exciting, Adrian. I'm so happy to hear you are doing that because that sounds so fun. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to look more into this and we're going to talk about this tomorrow. Now, for real, I've checked with Allie. I'm clear on the schedule. I will be going live tomorrow at 7 Eastern, and I have to be on a very tight schedule. So no dilly-dallying or monkeying around or any of the stuff that I normally do. We have to keep on a strict schedule because tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, I'm going to be over on Alex Erickson's channel, and we are going to go through the comment. It's called the comment section. And I'll be with Allie and Crime Curious. And we're going to be talking about like comments from like highly publicized cases. And I can't wait. I'm very excited. And also, I just had to tell you guys this because I'm still sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but I was over in Allie's chat earlier when she was interviewing Mallory Malicious Intent. And ATS News was in the chat, and we were talking back and forth about, we were on topic because the topic was Mallory's thoughts on the Idaho 4 and Brian Kohberger and all that stuff, right? And ATS was, she has a new theory, but she's not ready to share it. But we were talking about what if Kohberger took pictures because, he went back to the scene, right? And he had his phone because they tracked it, remember, in the probable cause affidavit. And I said to her, I said, oh, wow, what if that would be something, because that wouldn't be in the probable cause affidavit because they didn't get their hands on his phone to download it and see what was on there until after his arrest. And she said the sweetest thing to me. She said and suggested, and I want to hear what you guys think. She suggested that I do like a documentary on Gannon Stauch and his, his story, his case. And she said that it needs to be well laid out. And I felt really flattered that she thought that I could do that because Gannon's story, we do need, it should be told. And I think lately a lot of focus and in the trial, and this is what happens during trials. The focus is on the defendant because the job of the prosecution is to prove that they committed this murder. Or murderers. So everything that's really discussed in the trial really does revolve around the defendant, not so much the victim up until, victim impact statements, if there's a guilty plea, right? And I think I think I would like to do that. I think, but I was so flattered that, and yes, Mallory is very smart, very, very intelligent. Oh, what's up here? Let's see. I won't be here tomorrow night. Ooh, how exciting, Adrian. You're going to have to let us know. Oh, Mo, you want to play Leticia in the documentary? Yeah, so I want to, I'd like to, I think I'm going to take a crack at it and see. You know, Carol, I would like to do something like that for Quentin Simon. Because he deserves his story to be told as well. But I need to have more details, unfortunately, as hard as that is, in order for, this is why I think it's time to tell Gannon's story, because now we have some details that we did not have before. And I think after Leilani Simon's trial, we're going to have details that we didn't have before that I think will be necessary. Oh, hey, Richie. Good to see you. Hey, Becky P. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to think about it, you guys. But I just thought it's really flattering. If somebody thinks that you are capable of telling a story, his story. Do you know what I mean? Because Gannon, we spent, Allie and Crime Curious and I and all of you guys, we spent what? How long was Leticia's trial? What, 6 weeks? And before that, when he first was reported missing, and then all of the things that ensued after that, and then there was that, then it was all Leticia's crazy shenanigans in the courtroom, and she was going to represent herself and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I think I'm going to do it, you guys. Anyway, thank you, Team Psych Ward. You guys are so sweet. All right. So I will see you guys all tomorrow at 7 Eastern on this channel. And then again, hopefully, if you're not too tired of me, at 9 Eastern over on Allie's channel. All right. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I appreciate you guys all tremendously. It warms the recesses of my cold black heart to know that I took such a long break, and you guys were here and were still wanting to hear me and listen to me and engage. And I just really, really appreciate that so much, that you guys are always understanding that sometimes I got to be taking a break. Thank you, Princess Megan Elsa. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. All right. I'm going to get off of here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. All right. Bye.